Chips. I'll call this regular council meeting to order. Please stand for the pledge. Jim, would you lead us in the pledge, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing for a moment, please. Heavenly Father, we ask for you tonight to instill in us trust and to know that you will lead us down the right path. Psalms 23 reminds us that, and this is, Psalms 23, we're so familiar with this line, the Lord is my shepherd, there is nothing I shall want. We must do away with worry about things we cannot control and lay it all at the feet of Jesus. Trust in the Lord. We ask tonight, Heavenly Father, for the strength and guidance to deliver the best decisions for our residents, and we ask for all of this tonight in your holy name. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, Kathy, roll please.
Carter. Here. Walter. Powell.
Here.
Barstow.
Here.
Hayes. Hicken.
Here.
Lee.
Okay, we have a quorum present. First thing on the agenda tonight, under citizens' comments, for the last, since I've been mayor, I have incorporated some recognition awards that I call behind the scenes Citizens of the Year awards, and these are folks that I have observed over the past years or months that I feel are extremely beneficial to our community. They get it. They know what community is about. They know what family's about. And I'm honored tonight to, I have picked two folks that I feel are my recipients for 2018. And we'll start tonight with my good friend Bill Ishii. Bill, would you come up front here, please, sir? We're going to get a picture. Thank you. And Jim, I want to thank Jim for coming tonight. Bill, this says just what it is, behind the scenes Citizen of the Year. I appreciate what you do for the community. Stepping up when I call and ask for something. You're always there. And congratulations.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
All right.
Thank you.
Yep. The second award, I used a little bit of my trickery tonight. I asked Jim to come here to take photographs, but actually, Jim, this one's for you because, again, this guy's everywhere. In fact, he told me tonight that to put my rear in gear because he had to head for a football game, or a basketball game, and take pictures. So, Jim, this is for you because you're always around the community.
There you go.
There you go.
Okay.
Thanks. Thank you. Appreciate it.
very much.
Behind the scenes, all right?
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And you guys are free to go. You don't have to stick around.
Thank you. Everybody, thank you. Have a good night. Thanks,
Bill.
Mayor.
Thanks.
Good night.
Yep.
Congratulations.
Thank you, folks. All right, moving along, citizens' comments. Anybody wish to speak tonight? Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Mike, are you hiding behind there? Okay. Would you like to speak tonight also?
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
We'll get to you in 5 minutes, sir. Name and address, please.
Eileen DeRolf, 12520 Refugee Road, Southwest. Last week, I read the 152-page draft of a Tascola Comprehensive Land Use Plan. If there was one recurring theme, it was the excessive desire to have lots of green space and bike paths. So let's just have a chat about green space. To have green space, somehow Pataskala or some surrogate is going to have to take control of that land. Green space, however, is rarely bought directly from the landowner because towns like Pataskala rarely can afford to do so. Instead, the more likely avenue would be through the use of conservation easements. As a matter of fact, and I quote in the comprehensive land use plan draft, it says, "Consider rezoning areas to newly created conservation districts." So then, let's have a chat about conservation easements. A conservation easement is a series of restrictions placed on a piece of property to reduce usage of the resources, both natural and man-made, associated with the land. These restrictions will remove from the landowner, and in most cases, all future landowners of the property. It will remove development rights normally associated with land ownership, such as the property cannot be subdivided, no new buildings or roads, no energy generation, no commercial recreation, only one or two houses, and no property use changes related to agriculture. This obviously creates in perpetuity a very inflexible land use situation, as well as reducing the value of the land to any future buyer. Since the land is now worth less, it is taxed at a lower rate. How low? Actually, I believe in Ohio, conservation easements generate 0 property taxes. In turn, this causes a non-conservation land in Pataskala to carry a higher tax burden. In addition, there will be less land to develop in Pataskala, causing land prices and property taxes to skyrocket. The citizens of Pataskala have made it clear that they do not want big industry, big box stores, etc. This will restrict the creation of a strong business base. The result is a Pataskala where only the truly wealthy can reside. Think California, a state riddled with conservation easement land and high taxes, and where a modest house costs $1 million. Is this the future you want for Pataskala residents? Also that they can have a lovely view and some bike paths? This brings me to the next question. How in the world did this comprehensive land use plan turn into this property rights theft document? I'll tell you. The outside city planner, who seemed like a very nice man, did what all followers of the American Planning Association do. He created survey questions that were simplistic and which would provide predictable answers. Answers guaranteed to provide responses which would indicate Pataskala's citizens desperately wanted green space and bike paths. This process actually has a name. It's called the Delphi technique. Here's an example of one of the questions asked in the Comprehensive Land Use Plan survey. What percentage of the undeveloped land in Pataskala should be conserved or protected? And by the way, the number was just off the charts. First of all, do you actually think the average citizen in Pataskala knew, as he answered this question, any of the information I just shared with you? And of course there's more. Of course not. The planners all know that and are more than happy to take advantage of that fact. If the planner really wanted to get answers which would guide the city forward safely, the question would instead be of this nature. If Pataskala wants green space, and higher taxes and higher land values are associated with green space, what percentage of undeveloped land in Pataskala should be conserved or protected? I assure you, the planners never, ever ask questions like this. This is a classic case. Oh, no problem. This is a classic case of garbage in, garbage out. That said, how should this process go forward? I suggest you tell the planner goodbye, replace him with Mr. Fulton, who's local and understands the citizens, and understands the division in this town between the large landowners and the city folk. Then find someone in the community who actually understands conservation easements and their negative consequences, and have them compile the right questions asked the right way in order to allow your citizens to truly guide Pataskala safely into the future. This is not nearly all the information you need to know on conservation easements, but with the amount of time I had, I did the best I could. I truly, truly hope that y'all spend some time thinking about what a conservation easement is and its consequences. Thank you so much for my time.
Thank you. Mr. Washington? Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Name and address for the record, please.
Mike Washington, 80 Oak Meadow Drive, Washington's Do It Best Hardware and Napa Auto Parts. I just wanted to come before council and talk about a problem in Pataskla, and that is the eyesore that is turning into a public nuisance, and that is right next to us, the Pataskla Square Shopping Center that is in disrepair. Mold is growing in the walls, the ceiling, the floors of that building. It's an eyesore for Pataskla. Pataskla is trying to become an up-and-coming city and a place for people to go. And I don't know what we have on the books to enforce or make something happen with that property owner, but he has shown no regard to what Pataskla is trying to do, and that's trying to become a vibrant community that is a good place to live. It's an eyesore. It's not just an eyesore for our business next to it, it's an eyesore for all of us. And we need to take some action and try to get something done with that, because it looks terrible for Pataskla. And doesn't help economically either by any stretch. And the tenants that are in there are struggling because of it. They deserve better than that. So I just want to start that up. If anybody has anything, they can come to me. I'll help. I'll do whatever I can. I personally reached out to the owner. I went and met him unannounced so he couldn't skirt me. I mean, I don't want to buy the property, but I've offered to buy it from him to try to reinvigorate it. But it's getting to the point that you would almost have to give that property away with blacktop repair, roofing, the mold remediation. I was talking to a roofer yesterday in the store who was on the roof, and he was on it 3 years ago, and he got off of it immediately because he thought he might fall through. It's in bad shape, and I don't know what to do, so I'm coming before you to see if there's anybody that can do anything from zoning, law, county, whatever it is. I'll help, but I don't have much control, but it's bad for us. So I just want to get that out in the air.
All right, thank you, sir.
Thanks.
And make sure, Mike, that your phone number's on.
It is.
Okay.
Yep.
Very good.
Thanks.
We'll have planning and zoning reach out to you, okay?
Thanks.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to speak tonight? Okay, seeing none. Introduction, discussion, and approval of consent agenda matters.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Barstow, seconded by Mr. Powell. Discussion? And roll.
Carter,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Barstow,
Yes.
Pickens,
Yes.
Consent agenda passes. One, I don't have to turn left tonight. I just turn right. And it's gonna go very quickly. Okay, on to reports. The only thing I have to mention is, hats off to the street department. When I heard Columbus today was, going to give up their efforts on plowing side streets, stating the fact that all they would do now is push the snow off of the ice. I gave a little yes, because we went out and salted so that there would be no ice under the snow. So kudos to the street department for doing an awesome job on a HELL hockey sticks hellacious storm. So, thank you, sir.
I'll pass that on, guys. Didn't get much of a holiday weekend, but they did do a heck of a job.
Very good, thank you. That's all I have, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to echo the comments on the snow plowing. I talked to Alan earlier this evening. He did a really good job, and as everyone knows, I've said it before, I get a chance to travel around the region, and we do a really, really good job in keeping the streets clean, and obviously a lot of very nice Facebook comments and things like that. I do want to talk about the comprehensive plan just a little bit. I mean, I've read about half of it. I was looking at it today, what I want to say is that it's not written in stone. I think it's a long way from being in a final issue. What I've asked Mr. Powell to do, who's the chairman of the development committee this year, is to get with the development committee and plan some public meetings, maybe a couple, now that the plan's been out on the website, and have more citizen input and citizen comment on the plan. But anybody who knows how city government works knows that none of the things that are suggested, and that's what they are right now, are suggestions in this plan. None of those things are in the budget forecast, and our budget forecasts go out 5 years, and some, and those are based on revenue, so, people who are going around saying that, oh, the bulldozers are gonna show up in March ready to chop down all your trees and put a bike path in are wrong. That's not going to happen. And there's a lot of things in the plan that I don't particularly care for, but we'll just see where it goes. I've also asked Mr. Zatz for an opinion on whether or not this plan is required, and if it's required, quote unquote, then by whom and under what authority. So we'll see where it goes. But just so it's out in the public record, nobody's gonna show up in the spring, starting taking people's property, and things like that. And I would offer this, that my understanding of conservation easements, maybe I'm wrong, I don't know, is that they're voluntary, is that the owner of the property voluntarily does it. So if somebody wants to exercise their property rights and voluntarily do that, I guess they can. That's my understanding of how they work that. And certainly, I would never force somebody, a property owner, we're not gonna start doing eminent domain or things like that, at least not as far as I'm concerned. So I speak just for one person, that's me, but that's just how I feel about it. And that's what I've expressed to citizens who have come up to me and said that they've heard that the city is going to start chopping down trees and building bike paths and taking their land and things like that. So I just wanna put that out. This is just a start, these are suggestions, that's just what they are, suggestions.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Zatz?
Nothing tonight.
Okay. Mr. Nicholson, I know that you're gonna play double duty tonight, so.
Yeah, BJ didn't have anything for me to share on his report, but
Okay.
you have my report. I have two things on the agenda tonight. One is the property casualty and liability insurance renewal. We had about a 5.7% decrease year over year, which is awesome. So we're ready to move forward on that. So that'll be a resolution, and we also have a first reading of the supplemental. There are two items. The first on that is the proposed purchase of some exercise equipment, fitness equipment for the new police station. It's my understanding that they're also going to be soliciting fundraising, and to the extent that those monies are raised, they will go in the police fund to offset the expenditures we will make. The other item was Chris requested a supplemental for water plant maintenance, just to reclassify some budgetary items from between two categories. It's a net zero, it's just putting it in the right bucket, basically, so that he has enough funds to do his maintenance. And that's all I have.
Okay. Anything for Jamie?
A quick question on the first item.
Yeah.
You talk about the $20,000 for the equipment, then you say the police department is actively looking, that would bring the 20,000 down, I assume?
Because of budgetary, the way things work, we still have to have an appropriation,
Understand.
even if we get the donations.
But at that point, the $20,000 would become unspent funds. They can only be spent on exercise equipment.
That appropriation would be restricted to the exercise equipment, and if we raise $20,000, we still would have to use that appropriation, but the $20,000 would go back into the police fund and basically replenish the fund for the city funds.
Thank you.
Anything else for Jamie? Okay, thank you, sir. Chris?
Thank you, Mayor. I've got just a couple of things tonight. There are two resolutions coming up. One of them is for the booster station in front of Kroger's. Has 3 pumps in it. 2 of those pumps were upgraded last year. This is for the 3rd pump to complete the upgrade project. Included in this resolution is also a repair kit. It's called a stack kit. It's one unit that has the impellers and the seals of the pump in them. This one unit would be interchangeable with all 3 of the pumps at the booster station once they're all upgraded together. So that's included in that one. The other resolution is for a high service pump and motor from our water plant on State Route 310. Last year it was pulled to be replaced with a new pump and motor, and the company Buckeye Pump that pulled it has given us a quote to rebuild what they pulled out of there. We would store that on site as a backup pump for future failures if that was to happen. I've got a couple updates on the report. MSD did come out this week and finish the coating issue with the new press, so the installation is complete. And as I've been saying, it is running very well. The well liner for well number 6 at plant 1 was installed earlier this week. Everything's done. We have to flush the well out and get our bacteria samples. The cold weather has caused us to delay the flushing process until the temperatures come up, but we'll get that back online. Our new field tech, Connor Johnson, starts tomorrow actually for his first day with the city. I'm pretty excited about that. And we have 6 interviews scheduled for Thursday and Friday afternoon for the open systems superintendent position. So moving along with going back to full staff. Outside of that, I don't have anything else unless council has any questions.
Anything for Chris? Yes, sir.
Here, a comment and a question, for council that, it so happens we did not have a quorum because 2 of the 3 utility committee members are absent tonight. However, all 3 of last year's utility committee members are present tonight, and we did talk about each of those at some point during the end of last year, that being a plan. Question I have for you is, 2 different items, both times Buckeye pumps. Are you looking at other stuff? Are you looking at other companies, or can you give me some insight into that? I don't remember.
So over the last couple of years, we've used 2 different companies for our pump rebuild projects, both water and wastewater, Ohio Motor and Buckeye Pump. Last year, we decided that the quality of work from Ohio Motor was not where we wanted it to be, so we've shifted heavily towards Buckeye Pump. These being continuations of projects that they've started. I did not get any other bids for these projects, but moving forward, I'll get multiple quotes for anything we've got coming up.
Very good. Thank you, Chris. Mr. Haynes.
Thank you, Mayor. I have 3 resolutions on for tonight. The first one is the acceptance of public infrastructure at the Carrington Ridge Development. They've actually been done for well over a year with the exception of their right-in, right-out, which they recently completed. We do have a stormwater facilities maintenance agreement on that for their retention basin. And then all the rest of the infrastructure is actually Chris's, but the utility department has signed off on that. So we're recommend moving forward with accepting that infrastructure. The second resolution is for the Traco. That is, of course, budgeted, planned to be in the budget for 2019. That will make us more efficient and effective on drainage projects, cleaning out roadside ditches and such, and also be able to take on some larger drainage projects like we're hoping to do. Finally is a resolution to amend the resolution for Oak Meadow Drive design. Just a quick update on that, I guess. So the original property owner where we didn't have an easement where the original pipe is, where we thought we were gonna be able to work something out, turns out they did not want to work with us on that. We identified 3 other options. 2 of them were on different property owners. They were not interested, or we could not come to a reasonable resolution. And finally, the third one is we have an existing pipe and an existing easement, which is a little bit further of a run, but we did verify that we do have the elevations for that. So this resolution is for an additional $8,300 of design to reroute the pipe down to the south, and that should take care of all the rest of our issues on that. This reroute, provided we can stay in the grass, which it looks like we can right now, will add roughly $25,000 to the total project cost for construction. If we have to go in the pavement for some unforeseen reason, it could be $40,000 additional. We do have that not planned in the budget for Oak Meadow, but in savings from last year, I don't think we'd have much problem with that. Provided we approve this, we will plan to take this out, a tentative schedule to bid late February and open bids in March. Finally, one other thing just want to mention is kicked off a bridge asset management program. Of course, we have 17 bridges in various states of their life. We've got an engineer on board to look at those, inspect them, and give us maintenance recommendations so that we can stay on top of those. Other than that, happy to answer any questions.
Anything for Alan? Thank you, sir. Mr. Scott Full.
Thank you, Mayor. Two updates. The Board of Zoning Appeals held their organizational meeting on January 8th. They did vote to move the meeting from the second Tuesday of the month at 6:30 to the second Monday of the month starting at 6:30. That being the case, Mr. Platt, as you know, submitted a letter of resignation. Now that the schedule has been changed, he has rescinded his resignation from the Board of Zoning Appeals and will serve as their chairman in 2019. Also, with the comprehensive plan, it was last Thursday, January 17th, we held an open house to review and get public comment on the draft comprehensive plan. We had a good turnout with a lot of positive, good feedback in terms of letting the steering committee and everyone know public's thoughts on that. There was a lot of discussion on the greenways component of the plan. Right now, the draft plan is available online for public comment. There's the draft plan, and then there's a link where you can, I think it's 2 survey questions where it allows folks that go on to review it to provide some general feedback in the form of comments. It's not a multiple choice, it gives them more free range in providing comments in regards to the plan. We're getting word out on that, just because we got it up on Friday, we had Monday off, so here we are today. So we're getting word out to the populace so that they can provide feedback, and then we'll go from there. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
I'd still like a hard copy when you get a chance, and I appreciate that. Yes, ma'am.
I was just gonna say, and I would be happy to catch up with you at some time too, Mike, about, as the development committee chair for the past couple of years, working with Scott through this process and how, heavily vetted it was. I mean, I think council deliberated exhaustively about why we needed an outside planner. And you and Mr. King were very, thorough in explaining and helping us understand why that was necessary, because I don't think that was something that council fully understood to begin with. But how many public meetings were held through that? Because I know I pushed for an additional one on the west side of town and trying to get people out to give input and to hear what was going on. In addition to that, were there 2 others?
There were 2 total public meetings, one at the farmer's market, one at COTC. And then for the survey, we sent out a postcard letting folks know about the survey to every registered voter within the city. And then we had the public meeting on the 17th. So for what I foresee is once we get the comments back, I imagine we'll schedule another steering committee meeting so that we can go over those with the steering committee, make appropriate changes as necessary, and probably do another, here's the draft plan based upon public input. What are our thoughts? So I imagine we'll probably do another public meeting after this, after the steering committee has a chance to meet again and revisions, and then we'll go out to the public again for a public meeting on that.
And one more thing, Mr. Mayor, I apologize for not being able to attend the meeting last week. What was the steering committee's thoughts on the plan after all of the work had gone in and where it was? Were there concerns from any of them?
Informally, I spoke with several of the steering committee members. They understood the residents' concern, particularly on the Greenway on Headley's Mill. From my perspective, I was unaware, and there was nothing in the current plan that indicated this had been tried years ago, and there was some concern for residents along there about doing it. So it was just lack of knowledge on my part, typically, as facilitating this process with the steering committee. If there's some city knowledge I'm able to provide, I'd normally bring that up. Unfortunately, I was unaware of that. So the steering committee, in the plan itself, there was a lot of recommendations for paths and things of that nature. And that was the proposal. They said, we too have concerns if we're, and I don't want to speak on behalf of all the steering committee, but if there's resident concerns along this, we need to revisit this. But based upon the overall consensus we got from the plan, that there is the desire to have paths, and we've seen with Taylor Road, a lot of steering committee members came up and said, well, we've seen the usage of the Taylor Road path already, so we can see there's that desire. and during our conversations, it's not the city's gonna put paths here, there, and everywhere. A lot of it would come down to that, if we look at a Broadmoor Commons, for example, if that subdivision were to develop, or any other subdivision to develop, we would look and say, oh, this would be appropriate for a path. So it would, how do we, as part of these developments, create these connections, you know, through areas that would be in a reserve or something like that. So it would be part of these subdivision developments. We do with developments on our major thoroughfares, Broad Street, 310, et cetera, as part of the TCOD process, they are required to do an 8-foot asphalt path or pay fee in lieu. So that's another method that the city's using to try and create these bikeways. So the steering committee was positive. I think they, you know, from my conversation says, you know, we need to reconvene and think about this a little bit more. But I think they're, and again, I don't want to speak for them, but I think they're overall they're pleased with where we are now.
Well, I appreciate the amount of work. I know that it's been a great deal of work, and you've done a great job facilitating it, and definitely the steering committee has put in a lot of time into it, so thanks.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I thought the presentation was fabulous. In fact, trying to gauge all of the residents' pleasure or displeasure, there was a nice round of applause at the end, which I thought was very approving, because all it was just getting the information to the residents. A lot of them had concerns, their concerns were taken care of, and they knew that this was, again, just plans and ideas as we move forward. So I was pleased with that applause. It showed what everybody really felt. So it was a good evening. Crappy weather, but this room was packed, which is what we like to see. So, yes, sir.
Scott, you've talked about several things going forward from here. Any timeline on that? I mean, I won't hold you to it, but are you thinking, I'm trying to see when council is gonna be able to take input and say, okay, this is a yes, or some of these things we want changed, or whatever. When does it reach our level?
Well, the initial thought was to have the public comment on the plan. We benchmarked it at February 1st just to see how are we doing? How's the comments coming back? Are we getting a lot? Do we need to put word back out? But that was kind of our tentative deadline to make sure that, okay, we're getting feedback, or do we need to keep this open so we can get more? Following that, I'm hoping that we'll be able to have a steering committee meeting in February, get the updates arguably in March, maybe have another public open house for a draft plan in March and see how that goes. So probably sometime after March, but again, there's a lot of variables that we'll need to look into before I can give a firm timeline.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'd suggest that we give it a little bit more time, because initially, the plan, this was not on the website. That did not appear on the website until a few days ago, the city website. So what people saw was a 46-page version that came out in September. This is 160 pages, more or less, that just appeared. So I would suggest the administration give us some more time so that it can get out there and people are not basing their thoughts and comments on the 46-page plan that was out there for some time. So, and then I still want to, because the development committee has worked on this, I still want to give as much time for public comment on this. And although the steering committee was appointed by council, it's still council that will ultimately, at some point, will have to take this up in whatever form we're going to take it up. So I'd like to have the development committee still have some time to talk about this, and then come up to council with how, because those are the council members. I don't want to diminish the role of the steering committee, because they put a lot of work into it. But again, it's going to be council, and I have to, on whatever format we're going to consider this, how it's going to come up to us. So I'm not, I personally am not in a rush to get this. We don't want to delay forever and ever, but I'm not in a rush to get this. I think there's a lot more public comment that needs to get out there. So those are just my thoughts.
And I would agree. And the February 1st was just a benchmark to let the process work and then revisit it and say, what are the comments we've got back, and to see. Is it another month? Is it another 2 weeks? What's that time frame? But that was just tentative to, allow us to know when to revisit it. With the plan not being online, there was size issues with getting that plan online, and we got it from a link to like a backdoor website through their website, so the link was not public to get there. And then, once we had that plan, there was 2 different incarnations before the plan that's up there on the website now, so I was concerned about putting a new one up, and then a new one up, and then a new one up, and then it looked like the cup and bowl trick that people would think, like, they keep switching it on us. So we decided to have the meeting, and then after the meeting, put the final draft on the website, because I didn't want the look of any impropriety with switching the plan on folks, and we were able to get it sized appropriately and everything. So we'll definitely look at February 1st, see how we're doing, and then kind of gauge time frame and any other way we need to get the word out to get as much public feedback as possible.
So, yeah, don't let technology defeat you. If there's a technology problem with getting out information to the public, send up a flare to somebody so that you can get the assistance you need from the technology standpoint, so you can get accurate information out there. I was quite disappointed that the website said, here is the draft plan, when it wasn't the draft plan. It was 25% of what the draft plan is. So I have a question. Council was sent a link. Is that what is on the website?
It is not. That has been, there's 2, there was an incarnation after that, and then another incarnation. So right now, the one on the website is the most up-to-date plan. The issue we had is knowing that some components of the draft that was sent to council was going to change, and then would potentially change again, that we didn't want to put it up and then look like we're switching things around on everyone. So nowhere on
Which is what has happened. I am not impressed at all with this. Not in one bit. Not one bit, sir, not one bit.
And nowhere on the steering committee website did anything indicate that there was a draft plan up there. It was all steering committee presentations, so we didn't want to start jostling different draft plans on that website until we had one that was ready. But once I got the first one, I was able to provide that to council, but the consultant said this is not a public link, because then it links people into our website a different way.
You're making it worse.
Okay. Any other comments?
I had a question. Is the contract with with the consultant, is that open-ended? Or do we have?
There can be change orders and extended as necessary.
Kathy, did you have a comment?
Just one thing, when that committee was established, there should have been an end date for the committee to give a report back to council. I'm not sure what that date was off the top of my head, but they can be extended, but we need to take a look at that and see when that end date was and what type of an extension you'd wanna provide.
All right, very good. Anything else, Scott?
No, sir.
Okay. Lanier?
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to touch base on one of my items in my report for the Foundation Park holding tank. I got a quote from EC Maverick to do the work for the holding tank, not knowing that they didn't do the full scope of the work. They would only come and do and drop in the holding tank, and then I would have to find someone to plug in the utilities. So I'm working on a quote to be able to have both parties coordinate the same day to get the work done. So I'll have an update once I have a quote, probably from Remnant Utilities. Next thing on my list, soccer is rolling through. We have 7 sponsors so far for the spring season. To help with that and also with the movement, February 19th, I'll be a spotlight speaker at the chamber meeting. I think that's at COTC, so I can somewhat solicit a little bit and try to get some sponsorships rolling through, some revenue. Next thing on my list, last week I had the pleasure of receiving an email from ODNR. We received a $2,500 grant to fund rod and reels, bait and tackle for a outdoor fishing derby activity that we'll be hosting July 7th at Foundation Park. So that was a highlight of the week last week. And besides that, last thing is the movement kicks off here tomorrow, 6:30 with Elisa Klepser. I have some punch cards if you're ever wanting to come, so you can have them up front. I'll give those to you after the council meeting. But overall, the consensus, we got a lot of partners on board, health professionals who are wanting to give back to the community, create a healthy community. And I think it's gonna be a great thing for the area. So hoping to see everyone there here tonight or tomorrow, and we'll go from there. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Yes, sir.
I had a business owner who wanted to sponsor soccer,
Okay?
but they said there wasn't a deadline on the form that they got, so they just wanted to know what.
February 22nd.
February 22nd.
Yep. Thank you.
Lanier?
Yes, sir.
I have to look for a different plumber to go connect in the thing.
Mhm.
Is it still within the,
I'm still well in my $11,000 budget.
there
Yep.
you go, that's all I want to hear.
I think we'll actually have a lot of savings on this one, for sure.
It's puzzling that we can't find one company to do it all, that's.
Yeah. But the last thing I wanna do is get an upcharge for the holding tank, and I can go right to EC Babbert and just purchase it, and then just have someone do the labor piece of it. I think we'd save more there.
Sure. And your ODNR grant, will that include some, will you be able to stock some fish in that little?
I put that in the budget this year, so starting in March, Aquadoc will come out and stock all 3 ponds.
Awesome.
Yep.
Way to go.
Thank
It's on top of it. Anything for Lanier? Thank you, sir. Chief Brooks?
Thank you, Mayor. I have 2 items on the agenda tonight under resolutions. First one is for the body cams, for the purchase that was in the budget for 19. The second is cruisers. We're ordering 2 cruisers. One has over 100, the other one is 90 plus, and they have a gazillion miles on them. And I also would like to thank Alan and his crew. It's nice that the roads are nice to go get bread and milk, but you know it allows us to do our job the way we like to. So thanks, Alan. Thank you. And that's all I have.
Anything for, yes?
Chief, do you already have a body camera policy in place?
We do. We actually go through and revamp our policies and procedures every year. After the budget was approved, we worked on it and have one ready to go.
That was my only concern, is you hear about instances where, oh, my camera got turned off,
Yeah.
or stuff like that. I want to make sure the police department sticks to that.
We're ready and good to go.
Thank you, sir.
That was your question also, Mr. President?
Well, my question is more along on the public records request, we made sure that we're complying with, I believe there's been some guidance come out from the state on public records requests, how those are handled for body cams and things like that.
Yeah, that's a very new law, and
Right.
we're in
But,
compliance.
okay, that was my concern. And then the police cruiser, that's in line, that was budgeted, that's with our plan on how we ultimately decided to replace cruisers.
Yes, sir.
correct? That's all I'm gonna know, thanks.
And we're starting to see a fair amount of maintenance costs on the 2012s, so it's not.
That's a good one.
2012, so we're starting to get into the Chargers, aren't we?
Yes.
Man,
Yes.
remember how excited we were to get the brand new Chargers? Well, they're not so brand new anymore with 6 or 7 years on them. That's amazing. Update on Demon? Is he
He
fully
actually
certified?
I'm sorry, he just passed his patrol certification and working on his drug work. So the target date is probably about a month out, and he'll be on the road. And
That's Mr. Morton's. That's Mr. Morton's canine dog. So we'll be back up to 2.
2, yes.
Very good. All right. Anything for Bruce? Okay. Thank you, sir. How was the Bob Seger concert?
It was awesome.
All right. Very good.
Remember Walker?
Well, we don't have any committee chair reports, right?
None.
Okay.
Other Mr. Hicken's failure to get his committee together, yeah.
Ouch.
Failure, that's
Strong.
Leadership failure.
I'm gonna start a zing jar instead of a swear jar. All right, on to new business. Ordinance 2019-43333 for a first reading.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Barstow, seconded by Mr. Powell. Kathy, when you're ready, first reading.
Ordinance 2019-4333, this is the first reading, an ordinance to make supplemental appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures during the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2019.
Discussion? Okay, on the resolutions. Resolution 2019-005, a resolution authorizing and directing the city administrator to enter into and execute a renewal agreement on behalf of the city of Pataskala with Reinhardt Walters Danner for the purpose of liability insurance through the Ohio Government Risk Management Plan.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Barstow,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Powell. Discussion and roll.
Powell,
Yes.
Barstow,
Yes.
Pickens,
Yes?
Carter,
Yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 2019-006, a resolution authorizing and directing the city administrator to execute a contract with Buckeye Pumps, Inc. for a water booster station pump with repair kit.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Hicken,
Second.
seconded by Mrs. Carter. Discussion and roll.
Barstow,
Yes.
Pickens,
Yes.
Carter,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 2019-007, a resolution authorizing and directing the city administrator to execute a contract with Buckeye Pumps, Inc. for a high-service pump and motor rebuild.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Hicken,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Powell. Discussion and roll.
Pickens,
Yes.
Carter,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Barstow,
Yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 2019-008, a resolution to accept and confirm infrastructure improvements for the Carrington Ridge Phase 1 and 2 developments for public maintenance and operation by the city of Pataskala.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Barstow, seconded by Mr. Powell. Discussion? That would be mowing and snow removal and paving the roads?
No, that is just to maintain the water and the sewer. All the roads in there are private, and the stormwater basin's private. We do not mow in there either.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, yes.
I'm sorry?
It's like where I live.
Roll call, please.
Pickens,
Yes.
Carter,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Barstow,
Yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 2019-009, a resolution authorizing and directing the city administrator to execute a contract to purchase a 2019 Cobelco Model SK85 CS3 mini trackhoe excavator and accessories package from the Southeastern Equipment Company, Inc. through the State of Ohio Competitive Purchasing Program and to enter into a capital lease agreement for the procurement of this equipment.
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Carter,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Barstow. Discussion and roll.
Carter,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Barstow,
Yes.
Pickens,
Yes.
Resolution passes. Thanks for all the legwork and laying that out and getting that information to council, and we finally got it. Thank you so much. Resolution 2019-010, resolution amending Resolution 2017-061, and thereby adding $8,300 for the design of the Oak Meadow Drive Improvement Project.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Barstow and seconded by Mr. Powell. Discussion and roll.
Carter,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Barstow,
Yes.
Pickens,
Yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 2019-011. Is that a vacuum cleaner? A resolution authorizing and directing the city administrator to execute a contract with WatchGuard to purchase 12 body cameras, software, and other associated equipment necessary to operate the same.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Barstow.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Hicken. Discussion? And roll.
Powell,
Yes.
Barstow,
Yes.
Pickens,
Yes.
Carter,
Yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 2019-012, a resolution authorizing and directing the city administrator to enter into a contract with Lebanon Ford in Lebanon, Ohio, through the State of Ohio Competitive Purchasing Program to purchase 2 new fully equipped police vehicles.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mrs. Carter, seconded by Mr. Barstow. Discussion? We're moving to Ford products, the Chevrolets, or the Chargers aren't.
As Jamie commented, they get really expensive when they get older. The Fords seem to hold up a whole lot better.
Very good, sir. Kathy, when you're ready.
Powell,
Yes.
Barstow,
Yes.
Pickens,
Yes.
Carter,
Yes.
Resolution passes. Any motions tonight? Okay. Additional citizens' comments. Anybody wish to speak? Okay, seeing none, we'll go roundy round and we'll start with Mr. Hicken.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just had a couple things. I also, obviously, we're all out there driving the roads. We know what a great job the street department does, so appreciate all you guys do. Thank you for the citizens' comments, the insights. I'd be interested to hear what the planning, both of those kind of good planning, right? So, one of the Napa or the shopping center, kind of interested in that. Congratulations to you, Mayor. That was an awful lot of resolutions. Ripped off in a pretty decent
Thank you very much.
clip.
Thank you.
And I have no other items.
Mrs. Carter?
I'm the only person that doesn't wanna thank the street committee because I was hoping for a 4-day weekend. I didn't get. A little spoiled in my education world these days. But no, great job. We didn't have any teenagers in a ditch today, so that's always a win.
Okay, we gave you a 2-hour delay this morning.
That doesn't help me though. I still have to be there.
I know, I'm just.
I know. And then that leaves my son in a preschool for 4 hours before school starts.
Ooh.
Somebody's getting beat up, and it isn't him, I'm just saying. So, not a good day. I also want to mention that, Alan and I had talked about having a street committee meeting next Monday. I wasn't certain what your availability was, how early you're able to meet. We were at 4:30 is what we were thinking. I'll reach out to Suzanne, or we'll just kind of put it out there. Well, we did she respond to that?
I haven't seen a
I
response.
don't think so. I can text her, but kind of get an overview of what we've been working on, and what our goals are for the year. So Alan and I talked briefly about it, so we should be in good shape moving into next week and,
So 28th?
yes, at 4:30. And will you get Kathy the purpose?
Yeah, if you wanna make any comments on the agenda that I gave you, or if we need to expand that, I will do that.
Give me, a day or two. Well, today's already Tuesday, by Thursday. Okay, and that's all I have.
Very good. Mr. Powell?
Want to get a development committee meeting set, thinking, the 4th. I know that there's an ag committee meeting at 6:20. And Scott said we need about a half hour for development, so try and shoot for 5:50 for development. That works for everybody.
That'll give you a half hour.
5:50, you're really gonna do that to us?
I am.
I'm just teasing. Anything else, Mr. Powell?
I have nothing.
Mr. Barstow?
Thank you, sir. Couple things, ethics commissions, we all, filings, those are due on May 15th. Campaign finance reports are due, next week. Make sure you, I called mine this morning, make sure you get those in, if you need to. And again, congratulations on the roads, it's really good, and I say it a lot, but you wouldn't believe some of the places that I go where it just doesn't get done. I was in Cincinnati over the weekend, and they did do a very good job down there. They had quite a bit of snow, so good job. Anything else? I think we should go with 4 members going forward.
I like it, we're efficient.
Very efficient. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
No, hang on just 1 second. I just wanna, I have one comment before we go to adjournment. And Lanier was there, and I think Tim Hicken was there. We had last Friday the, kind of a groundbreaking, so to speak, although we picked up some shovels and some mulch. But it was, the YMCA has kicked off their major renovations, so that was pretty cool in the city, so. Okay, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Is that you?
You already made it.
Okay, Mr. Barstow and Mr. Hicken has seconded. Oh, Mr. Zetz, did you have anything to add tonight?
I say vote on the motion.
Okay, very good. Discussion and roll.
Barstow?
Yes.
Hicken?
Yes.
Carter?
Yes.
Powell?
Yes.
Meeting adjourned.
Put your chair down, Mrs. Carter. She'll get after you. She'll get after you.
I haven't got to yell at anybody today.
Hey. I should have bet you.
I have.
I would have asked, I rode you there.
Grabbing my.
I'm exhausted.
Basketball here.